All right, exciting morning. Happy Sunday, January 28th, 2024. The last and final Pocket Change market report for the month of January. I hope everyone's doing well. And for you guys out there following your NFL, all right, we got a couple big games here today, a couple championship games. So if you're going to be doing that, I hope you guys enjoy and have fun with family and friends. But of course, no weekend would be complete without this video here today, where we take a look at some of the biggest, brightest, best finds that you could discover out there, not only in circulation, the simple art of going through your change or roll hunting from stuff at the bank, going through straps of bills. You just never know when the next heavy hitter is going to come aboard. But also, we can't dismiss some of the coins that people have cherry-picked at coin shows and shops. Those are going to be displayed in here as well. So wherever you can find it at a cheap cost or face value, you might see it here on the Pocket Change Market Report. We do this twice a week. This is your weekend edition. We got a nice stacked show for you guys to kick off your Sundays. And I hope you guys are having fun in the hobby, but most importantly, I hope you guys are doing well in your own rights. So yeah, we have quite the list. We are kicking off the month of January. The year of 2024 has been good. It's been I'm not going to say kind of like drama free. It's probably not the word to describe it, but it's just normal. We're seeing normal stuff at great prices being achieved out there, which just firmly believes that you can do this as a reseller. If you don't care at all of keeping some of these coins in your collection, just go ahead and flip it and make the money. That's always going to be a huge plus when we're doing this and being in this hobby in this aspect. Especially varieties and errors have always been a soft spot in my heart, and hopefully it'll begin to be that for you guys as well. So we generally talk about non-graded coins as usual. Grading means you gotta pay some grading company, lots of money to authenticate coins that possibly doesn't add any value whatsoever to these coins, so something to keep in mind. And furthermore, the photos that we see here today are all 100% original to these sellers' listings. We didn't juice or doctor anything to make them look better. You're going to get the best and worst of what eBay has to offer, which is good news for you guys, because if you struggle in the photography taking department, yeah, you might want to check this out and just know that bar is set really low. So please do keep that in mind. All right, so before we get into the juice of the matter here, we have kind of an important week of events on Whatnot. Not only this week, but the next week, heading into the month of February. We have the Road to 10,000 Coin Selections auction. Okay, we are so close to 10,000 followers on the platform. Been on air nearly 1 year. March signifies a 12-month calendar in which I've partaken in this wonderful auction platform. So we are roughly 1,400 members away, followers from getting there. It's going to be this Tuesday, January 30, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have great, inexpensive coins, type, old stuff, precious metals, silver, you name it. We're going to have it on the show as we try and pursue 10,000 followers here really quickly. And then Friday, the Cherry Pickers Guide giveaway part 2 was postponed from last Friday because I couldn't get my inventory quick enough. So we pushed it back to this coming Friday. In addition, we're going to have more US type coins. It's going to be an auction bonanza for you guys to check out. And that's going to be on February 2nd, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Should be a good show. I probably lied when I said this is the last PCMR of the month. Probably have one more here on Wednesday, which I believe is the final day of the month. So something to look forward to, ladies and gents. And there you go. That's the Whatnot calendar of events. If you haven't signed up, I have my referral link down below. If you sign up under me, you grab some of that store credit that you can use right away. It's like free money to buy free, valuable things And there is nothing better than that. So go ahead and check things out if you haven't done so. We have new people joining each and every single day on the platform. And yeah, it's a favorite. It's, you know, I would dare say it's probably beating out eBay as far as my favorite. But I still use eBay quite a bit for other things as well. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. Sorry to take so long. You could just skip right through all that. 5 minutes in already. Okay, we got about 26, 27 lots. We have a 2000p South Carolina Statehood quarter. Okay, it's really easy to see that this one was struck a little bit off center, out of collar. Obviously, the collar probably malfunctioned or got stuck in some capacity where it did not engage in its proper positioning during the strike. The collar definitely keeps the coin in place in the striking chamber, so that way it's the perfect shape and size and within mint specs 100% of the time, up until things go awry. So the Statehood quarter series is collected, in a couple different directions, whether it's just assembling one of each coin, each state, each mint mark, proof coins, silver proof coins. I mean, there's a lot here. And one aspect in which this is being collected is also by mint errors. You know, there are groups of people that collect specifically off-center struck Statehood quarter series of coins. And this is one of them right here. Now, it's not too crazy. It's off-center by about 10%. And the coin seems to be in pretty good shape. The photos are just amazing, and it's kind of hard to get a read on what condition this coin is because it's so damn perfect. So this one right here ended up selling for $44.24. You know, it could very well be a very nice mint state example. Normally you would see really good mint luster, but I don't know. The lighting and just the way that this one was taken, could be fool's gold. But it's anybody's guess. But what we do know is that some of the more tougher states that collectors are pursuing will generally go for a lot more money in the marketplace today. So yeah, this one came across the auction sold archives within the last day or two, and I have to talk about it. This is I don't know how the seller knew, but they had stated this is a 1997 Washington quarter. I'm like, how in the world are you supposed to make that out on there? But as you can see, the obverse of the coin, which has George Washington, is completely obliterated. And what we can tell from this, because you have a fully struck reverse, okay, it's either one of two things. I'm going to say the first one is not really the case, and that's going to be a struck through cap die with a partial kind of like shift in that cap to where it's late enough die state to where you can see the date. Now, the pictures probably don't do it justice. What's more likely is this is just a large indent. There were two planchets that were stacked on top of each other when this thing was struck. All right, so that's kind of what I'm believing it is. For all you error experts out there, would love to hear your thoughts on this one. It is a legit mint error. I will say that. Okay. I've seen a few of these before, but not really 100% familiar with what the actual kind of cause of what this one is. It's going to be one of either two of those. But in any event, this is a pretty big sale. $230 is what this one went for. And it was buy it now. It was a quick snap. This thing was probably on eBay for maybe an hour or two before it was picked up in short order. So if you do come across something like this, keep in mind this is a pretty big error. And the much later dated modern quarters, or any coin for that matter, is not immune to these dramatic mint errors. The next one that we have here, not so dramatic, because we're all familiar with lamination peels and strike throughs and things like that. They're kind of like the lower end of the totem pole, the spectrum of sorts for mint errors. So we have this 1940 Washington quarter. I guess checking your silver is in order, because you might have one of these hiding in there. To a lot of people, it doesn't look like a whole lot. But when we look at the obverse right on Washington's head, you can see a detached lamination area. kind of a swath that goes across the coin, not completely. It did sell for $28.45. Again, another nice buy it now snag. I wouldn't. It wouldn't be out of the question if these were also being collected by date. I know laminations are a lot more easier to approach from a collector's standpoint because it's more affordable. But when you get to much tougher dates, you're going to have a few people that are possibly going to go head to head on these. So $28 compared to what, $5 of silver that you see here is a pretty big trade-off. The next one that we have here didn't have a reverse image. Okay, I'm going to tell you, make sure you take a full picture of the obverse and reverse in any auction scenario. Show both sides because the reverse could be all jacked up on here. Could have carbon spotting, things like that. It's a 1970s Lincoln Memorial cent. It is off-center by about 25-30%. It's a good-looking coin from what I could see on the obverse. This one ended up selling for some amount of money. I couldn't get my 130 point to work correctly. The original asking price with shipping was $29.84, and a best offer was accepted, probably $20 plus shipping. But again, no reverse image on this one. All right, here's our first piece of currency coming in the way of a 1981 $5 Fed Reserve note, or $5 bill if you wanted to get plain about it. So, it's just an older style small head note, no really big fanfare here with this one. And, the front of the note just looks like a normal $5 bill, from what we do remember. But when we look at the reverse, check that out. We have a partial front to back wedding transfer of the overprint, which does occur on occasion. And we have one right here. These these particular wet ink transfers where it involves the overprint, excuse me, by the way, I'm all choked up here, is something that we just don't see too often. We either see the base front print or the reverse print being transferred over to, the respective opposite sides. But very rarely do we see overprints like this. How about $228.95? Again, when you look at transfers, you got to make sure that the secondary impression is going to be mirrored. All right, that's how you know it's legit, like this one here. Not graded, that's perfect. If it would have been graded, probably would have sold for pretty similar or comparable to what this one did sell for. Here's a 1993 $1 bill. It's got a little wave in there, not completely flattened out. It's okay. This one kind of drives home the point on this $1 bill. And as you can see, it just looks like a very well-weathered, piece. But when we look at the reverse, you can see that the back print is quite a bit shifted, misaligned to the south and to the east a little bit. So at one point, the sheet, probably when the back print was applied, was misaligned and shifted. And it didn't quite administer the print in its perfect area, I suppose. So there's obviously going to be some registration issues between the front and back of the note, to where one side's going to be, crazily off-center, and this one's even a little bit tilted. But that being said, this one sold for $49.23, 13 bids, so this one was organically bid up to that. Always look at both sides of the note. You just never know what kind of, surprise is going to await on one side or the other. All right, we did have another Henning nickel, the infamous counterfeiter back in the heyday, that did pop up. And these things continue to get more expensive. This is a 1944 nickel. As we know, this is a date that sits in the silver wartime era, which is a 4 or 5 year span, where the mint had changed over the composition to silver manganese. However, this particular one right here is missing something very important, and it's that large mint mark above the dome in Monticello. Now, that's how you know that this is a Henning counterfeit, is that it's not going to have the mint mark. He wasn't a total completionist when it came to stuff like that. And furthermore, this one does not have the signature looped R. This one is just regular, and they don't all have that, by the way. Just want to let you guys know. A coin that as recently as before the pandemic, you could have purchased for under $100. They're nowhere near that anymore. This particular one sold for $200. And if you're thinking to yourself, boy, Sean, that one's in really rough shape. They're all in really rough shape. They're supposed to have that artificial distressing that Henning was so popular and known for. So that way they would, pass by any sort of counterfeit detection methods. So yeah, he did, and yeah, he went and did nickels. As much of a grind it was to convert a bunch of nickels for cash. It did work out for him, and he had a foolproof plan of doing so. So these are very collectible, by the way. As a counterfeit, they're beloved by a lot of people who deal in contemporary era of counterfeits, whether it's these here from the 40s, 50s, and all that, or a time period earlier than that. So it's worth mentioning. If you do come across these and it looks funny, that might be something worth holding on to. Very rarely do we see any red seal legal tenders, but we do have one here. Again, it just looks like a run-of-the-mill 5. The red ink obviously is kind of a glaring thing, an attribute of the note that sticks out. When we look at the reverse of this note, hey, check that out. We have a partial front to back wedding transfer. So this is what a wedding transfer looks like. On any other style print other than the overprint. And it's quite a scarce one, being that it's a legal tender note. This one is sold for $371.95. I would say for all intents and purposes, this one probably will end up in a graded holder one day. It's certainly not going to hurt. It may not necessarily help. But boy, if you had to consign it with a big auction house 5 or 10 years later on down the road, when this thing will probably be worth $500 and up, in a graded holder, it's probably not a bad idea anyways. We have a 1999 D Lincoln Memorial Cent. Check that out. That one has a couple sheet clips. It's got 2 curved clips there right above Lincoln's head. And also has some pretty nice looking Blakesley effect as well. All right, which again, with clips, there's no guarantee that you're going to see Blakesley effects. But this one, it does look pretty good. This one right here sold for $22.05. The more clips, the better on a coin. A rim clip or a curved clip or a straight clip, for that matter, they're all relatively low end on the error hierarchy. So if you had a single clip, it might be worth about $5-10 at the most. Now here's what a true, genuine war nickel is supposed to look like. This is a 1945P, and you can see the large mint mark on the reverse. This one, kind of gives the doubled Monticello 39 Philadelphia nickel kind of a run for its money. This one is impressive. And look at the coin. This thing is pretty well worn. It's just, these things didn't really wear too well. The war nickels, they're very dark and gunmetalish at the end of the day. But this is the FS801 doubled die reverse. One look at the final few letters in cents and a few letters in Monticello, and you'll know that this is exactly like it is. I mean, that doubled O there on the end is highly identifiable for this variety. It's a great cherry picker's guide. So this one right here in this condition sold for $39.99. That is a really good sale price on these, considering that a similar graded 39 doubled Monty is right around that same price as well. So if you do come across these, again, this is a pretty big variety, and enough to sell to, kind of put a few bucks of gas in your tank. Not too bad. Here's our next piece of currency, a $1995 bill. Again, just kind of like your run-of-the-mill dollar. Flip it over. We have a full 100% front-to-back wedding transfer. This is the most desirable of a transfer when you have 100% of that transfer making it to the other side of the note. This one is also in pretty nice shape. It looks crispy uncirculated. It's sold for $124.36 with 6 total bids this time. Here's a 1940S, one of a few dates where you can find a bunch of cuds and retained cuds. All right, so that's why we're looking at this one. Nice, even circulated scent. I would say, nice strong VF here on this one. And when we look over here at the wheat stalk, you can see the crack entering and exiting in two different spots on the rim. And you could actually trail it through the devices. And not only that, you also have some shifting as well, which is paramount in a retained cud die break. This is a piece of the die that obviously had cracked but hadn't fallen out yet. So you don't have a full-fledged cud, at least not yet, until that piece falls out. And this is, as you can tell, there's still some design on that broken piece of die. This one's sold for $20. All right, so usually retained cuds generally sell for about 30 to 50% of what a full-blown cud of that same type is. I'm willing to bet a few of you probably forgot about this one, but it still exists, kind of making the Susan B. Anthony dollars a little bit more relevant, okay? Nothing too crazy. I'm not saying that we're seeing like a huge resurgence from this coin whatsoever, but it's 1979 Philadelphia Susan B. This is, of course, the wide rim variant. Sorry about that. So you notice that line goes all the way up to the date, all right? Which is something that is very noticeable when you compare the wide to the narrow, where you have a much larger gap between the 9 and the 1 and that inner rim, that cut. So this one right here, ladies and gents, sold for $22.05 with a couple bids. So, yeah, a little bit of interest here. The coin's in actually pretty nice shape. And just know that these don't really get too nuts until you get to like the top pop level of grades. And here's a really nice 1969D Lincoln Memorial Cent. It's off center by about 55-60%. It's got a full readable date, mint mark. The coin's a nice red-brown. Looks like it probably has a fingerprint on there on the obverse. Nothing too crazy, but still. It's a date that's not particularly rare. We've seen plenty of off-center 69Ds in the past. This one sold for $30.95, and that's with 12 bids. There you go. There's another great state quarter off-center struck error, and this time it's a 2001 Philly, North Carolina. And this is one that we don't see pop up too often, so it's good to see a different state here this time. Coin's in really nice shape. Probably, high AU, low mid-state 61 level coin here. And it's sold for $25. So again, this is not too impressive on any other date prior to the Statehood Quarter Series, to where it probably sells for about $10. But again, Statehood Quarter Series, these are actively pursued if they're in nice shape. Yeah, we did okay on the currency department here this week. Here's the 1958 $10 bill. A little bit of what appears to be a miscut. When we look at the reverse, even more of a miscut. I thought at first it was probably a misalignment, but when we look at the overprint here on this one, it is slightly shifted to the left. So the sheet was probably misaligned during the first and second print. The overprint is fine on this. So yeah, kind of crazy. And it's only something that normally you would see on much older notes from about 60, 70 years ago. This particular one sold for $157.29 with 42 bids. This is a relatively catastrophic type of error, considering that you have 2 faulty alignments on 2 of the 3 prints. So that is worth noting. Here's a 52 Franklin $half, and this one is, again, not a beauty queen. This one is pretty well circulated. However, if you guys know your Bugs Bunny varieties, and there's a number of them covering many dates, this is a good one right here. Bugs Bunny is simply a die clash of the eagle on the reverse onto the obverse die. So it's in just the right spot where it gives Franklin either Bugs Bunny big teeth in the front, or kind of like vampire fangs, like this one is here. So that is pretty cool. And you can find these across many dates. Some are more scarce than others. This particular one in this condition, again, check your silver, $52.49. That's a pretty big sale considering that you probably could have bought this thing for around $10 out of the silver melt bin. So again, you just never know what kind of gems you're going to find, even in your scrap 90%. We did have a few lots here this week. Here's one of them here. This is a lot of 6 various errors. We have a 1952 Lincoln with what looks to be a little lamination on there. A 58 penny with a clip. 1989 off-center by about 60%. We have an undated Jefferson off-center strike. I believe that looks like a 99p Roosevelt dime broad strike. And the 1984 P Washington quarter broad strike as well. So all 6 sold for $112.36 with 25 bids. I always tell folks, and I made this known in a video I just did about a day ago, look out for lots. You can capitalize on these in a huge way. I don't think there's really a whole lot of money to be made here, so you have to do your research and find out how much these are going for individually. But you buy the lot, you relist them individually, do it as a buy it now, or regular auction if you feel confident that you got it cheap enough, and let her rip. And that's how you're going to, take advantage of what bulk lots have to offer. Bulk means you're willing to accept a much lower price because you don't want to deal in selling these individually. So, yeah, I think we're all maxed out here on this one. Probably even a little bit of an overpay for these 6 coins, but we do have better ones coming up here. Here's a 1984 Lincoln Memorial Cent. Check out the cut die break right above Lincoln's head there. This is one I've seen a few times. And this one sold for $46.67, and that's with 2 bids. So again, cuds are really big on the error scene and in the market. The prices are always really good. If you got these and you need the extra cash, they're really easy to sell. Normally you can just put them up as regular auctions and they'll fly. If you know how to take good pictures and type them correctly in the listing, then you'll do just fine here. 1966 Lincoln Memorial Cent, slightly off-center or broad-struck. It could be one of the two. And this particular one right here is in decent shape. It does have a few fingerprints. It's a much tougher date for anything off-center or broad-struck. And it sold for $45, okay? Can't really say the same about 67 or 68 because we've seen quite a few of those dates. Here's another Franklin, this time in 1960. And I believe this one's a proof, and it is. This particular one right here is a pretty nice variety. It's the FS 101 doubled die obverse. Great little cherry pick here. Check out some of the doubling on Liberty. On the date, you can see the splits there, and in God we trust, the motto. So when you look at these, you gotta make sure that it exhibits this. The 0 is quite distorted. It's got a nice fat cat's eye look to it, and make sure you have a magnifier. If you're gonna do this for a living, I'm gonna tell you, you need a good magnifier. 8 to 12 times power is more than sufficient. This person obviously looks like they used a microscope, I know proof coins are generally tougher to photograph because of all the glare with the mirrored fields. So this one right here sold for $88.99. And that's fair for this one, considering that it's ungraded, it's out of the pack, and, it's a pretty decent doubled die. The next one that we have here, another big variety, by the way, 1938 D over S. This is one of 2 big overmint marks for the date. And this coin is in nice shape. It's a nice solid VF 35 level, XF 40 maybe. Now, the pictures, when you blow them up a little bit, not too great. They're a little bit pixelated, lower quality. But you can see that inner curl, the S, inside the D mint mark there. There's 2 different types. There's the FS 511 and the 512. All right, so make sure that you're looking at these. There's also a number of RPMs that are great as well. This one right here sold for $22.50, and that's with 2 total bids, ladies and gents. So not too bad of a sale there. And this is considered a pretty beat up 2000p Wounded Eagle Sacagawea dollar. Okay, one of my favorite varieties. I own a few of these myself. Not quite to this level. I typically cherry pick the nicer stuff. But in any event, this is another big variety to look out for. If you're feeling kind of blah about searching, any sort of golden dollar coin, whether it's this or the presidential series, this one might brighten up your day. When we look at these superimposed close-ups of the eagle's breast feathers and wing, you can see that raised die gouge. Okay, it looks like a spear. That's how it got its name. This one right here, in this condition, sold for $68.36 with 2 bids. These coins generally have a floor of about $45 to $50. They usually don't sell for less than that, even when they're pretty well worn. Really cool one here. This is a double struck Roosevelt dime. It's a 1990 Philadelphia, and it's always a treat when you have a double struck coin that shows 2 dates on it. I mean, that is cool. And that's kind of like the basis in which these things get out of control on the secondary market, is when you have 2 readable dates. This particular one right here is really nice. It's got a few spots, kind of like carbon spots or whatever on there. Not too distracting considering, what it is. This one ended up selling for $120. I do believe a best offer was accepted on this, and it was not cheap. All right, we do have a couple more lots here to kind of end things off on the right foot for the PCMR. We have this lot of 10 coins, all errors, and boy, this one's pretty cool. Now, compared to the 6 coin lot we just looked at, I'm going to tell you right off the rip, this one sold for $79.17 with 11 bids. By far, a much better buy. You have a number of Lincoln cent, broad strikes, off centers, readable dates. You even have a shield cent in there. You have a mushroom type of off center strike. It's probably a uniface, as you can see here on the top right corner. And you have a couple Statehood quarter series off centers and broad strikes. This is a great grouping right here, and you could easily 2x your money on this. I'm sorry to inform you guys, but you could 2x your money on this lot. This is such a great high quality lot. And the coins are going to sell easily for $15 to $25 a piece. The Statehood quarter series, they've been running about $25 a piece. So that's $50 of the $79 that you've invested in it. And yeah, these are pretty amazing. This is an amazing lot. And the same seller had another lot as well. This one is 9 coins this time. A total of $68 with 17 bids. Highlighted by that 48, what looks like a 48D Broadstruck Lincoln wheat cent. That's like a $30 bill right there by itself. Yeah, and you just have a really nice selection of various other coins with full readable dates. You have an 82 large date Lincoln right over there. When we look at the reverse, the nickel is a misaligned die error. Okay, that's a pretty good one. And a few others here that kind of highlight things. Again, you could probably 2x your money or come close to it with this lot. If the same person bought both lots, and I think the seller had like 1 or 2 more lots. So this was not all that they had. It was going to be a great opportunity to do a little work, flip these. Again, it's all work. You have to put the work in here. But it's work that you can manage on your own in the comfort of your own office or home. So yeah, I mean, this is a really good buy right here. Again, be on the lookout for more of these bulk lots. Research every single coin, so that way you can determine a high amount that you would be willing to bid on it, and don't overextend yourself. Don't get caught up in the emotion in the moment of overpaying, like $120 for things like this. That's what happened on the very first lot that we talked about that did sell for quite a bit more. And the last thing that we're going to talk about on the PCMR this weekend is this blank large cent planchet. How cool is that? Now, this seems like something that would be pretty rare. It's actually not. There were a number of blank planchets that did end up leaving the mint back in the day. And they either circulated or they ended up getting saved. And they're all the type 2 type where they have the upset rims on there, so they're ready to go for the strike. So it's always cool to see, you know. I'm willing to bet it probably checks out weight-wise. So this blank here sold for $225. Again, it seems like a little bit of a bargain because of how old this planchet is, and that's understandable. But again, there's quite a few of these out there to fulfill demand. So if you do come across these, they're not nothing. They're not some thing that came from your grandpa's garage or whatever, you know, to be used on something. This is a legit planchet, you know, a blank. That's ended up being probably a braided hair coin. So that's going to go ahead and wrap things up for this one. Again, videos for entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. Please do collect and grade responsibly, as always. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. I wish you guys a really nice day. Enjoy your football if you're going to be doing that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and to the video if you haven't done so already. Come check me out on Whatnot. 2 shows this week, so we'll be live there. And that's it. I'm out of here. Best of luck in your hunts, and I will see you next time.